in church, you guys are.
Call this meeting to order. 6 p.m. on the dot, February 27th, 2020. Roll call, myself, and Duarte here, Valerie Garcia.
Here.
Henry Munoz.
Has resigned.
Vanessa Navarrete.
Here.
Tiffany Rowell. Nathan Taylor. And that's all that's listed here.
Procedural thing on this. Resolution copper, according to the new contract, has 2 direct appoint positions to this board. I believe 1 or 2. I don't know what's the contract. So yeah, it's an ex officio position. So if there's a representative from resolution, they are a member. So we need to put Melissa on the list as an official person, and then we can have a quorum and move forward. There are no action items on this agenda other than approving an agenda, consent agenda, but it doesn't really matter that much, but still. We have a quorum.
All right, before we go any further, number 3, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And number 4, consent agenda pursuant to section 2-4-6D. Matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Prior to consideration of the consent agenda, the chairperson will ask whether any members of the committee request an item be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular session, July 25th.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
As ex officio, I don't vote, correct? Or do
No,
I?
ex officio can vote. Ex officio just means for the office.
Ah,
Okay,
okay, then I.
the vote's unanimous. Minutes are received. Number 5, new business. Item A, discussion update on the multi-gen center.
Just as an update, we are through the conceptual design phase. There's been 3 or 4 public hearings on the issue, lots of back and forth, 3 different draft designs or 4. This is a concept they have signed off on and are moving forward with. The next stage will be doing some pricing, doing some final plans, getting ready to build the thing. The plan is to have it out to RFQ by the end of the calendar year, which would be November, December. The first next tranche of resolution money, $500,000 is due tomorrow. The next one after that's a year after. So we don't get the next chunk of resolution money until February 28, 2021.
Is that why the timing of the RFQ won't be until the end of December, because we're
No,
timing it
that's
with the
the-
payments, or,
No, that's just when they're gonna have the money, or when they're gonna have it done. And then
Did
the
you
money,
the design, you mean?
yeah, the
Okay,
design.
gotcha.
We've been moving forward to USDA. I did a financial feasibility study based on the, I don't know, everybody remembers the 30-page plan of operations we have for the multi-gen center. They had a budget and everything in it. They took that budget and ran it through, the auditors ran it through like a 6-year projection and determined that the plan is financially feasible, and they showed excuse me, a decrease in the general fund balance based on the activities, so they determined it is financially feasible. We've sent that off to USDA and they're still reviewing it, but they've told us that the money's set aside, that they have approved this project, and it's through pre-approval. Now it's just the final approval process.
So
USDA?
So
USDA.
pre-approved meaning grant/loan.
The grant, the USDA for this sort of facility, it's a very low grant, it's mostly loan. So we have $2 million from resolution. We have, we need another 1.9. Of this, about 50,000 will be a direct grant. 30,000 is because this is in our capital improvement plan from USDA, and an additional 50,000 because we are within certain distance from the border, colonial money. So that's 130,000 there. We're also going to be discussing on our next council agenda, taking our community development block grant money for next year and applying it to, to this project to build the parking lot. It would be the parking lot for town hall. That is about a $300,000 chunk of money. We have, a bunch of different grants we're applying for, but the USDA money will guarantee we can build. It just depends. We want to keep going for grants because we want to have as little debt service as possible at the end. We also have assigned a certain amount of the money for sale for the town-owned buildings we have against the financial feasibility. So by that I mean we've said we are going to take the $200,000 we are going to make from the sell of the Belmont at some point, and the $300,000 approximately we'll make from the sell of the senior center, and we'll apply them to this building. We may get that money from somewhere else. We currently have a piece of property up for sale for $415,000. That is the industrial park lot, and that could make up that difference in one chunk, and we may not have to put the Belmont against it. So, but that will help pay down the debt service so that we have a small payment. USDA has been very good to us in our last adoption, and if there's extra money in the colonial fund at the end of the year, they can put that towards this project. So we just hope that we get the best grant loan ratio that we can get. Irregardless, getting the USDA loan means we can build, no matter what. We are ready to roll, off to the races. We should be, and it's already been pre-approved. He said the money's set aside. All we have to do is finish the paperwork. So,
what is the status or how does it look with the EDA grants that we thought we can apply for?
the EDA grant, what we'll have to do is separate off a section of this that applies to economic development. By that I mean the makerspace or the co-working space.
Okay.
We'll have to have the architects determine what the budget is for those modifications and what the budget is for that wing, and apply for that separately.
Okay.
And I'm waiting for a scope from the architects before I can move forward with that. I will pay a CAG to write me that grant when I have that information.
And are we going with a more modern look than with the traditional red
Bids are
brick?
no finishes. This is not what this is the shape of the building, but it's not what it's gonna look like.
Oh, okay.
This is just white.
I was just showing the kids, getting them excited, you know, showing them. They were so excited. Oh, that's really nice and modern.
Yeah, we don't know what it's gonna look like. The finishes and everything, that's gonna be a topic of future discussion and future hearing.
Okay.
This is a little institutional and industrial for my taste, and just looking like this, but that's not what it's gonna look like. This is just, there's gonna be a wall this size and then this basic spot. It doesn't have to look that color.
And then the other question that the kids, when I was getting them excited about it, and they wanted to know when do we foresee it being done approximately?
If it goes to RFQ in November, if they grant it in January, start construction, it will take less than a year to construct, so it should be done by December, January of 2022.
They think they're gonna be gone. My freshman, sophomore.
They're gonna be
"Oh,
graduated now.
I'm not gonna get my job.
This has taken forever, but this is a ridiculously short
Yeah.
time frame for a municipal
Yeah, I
project
think
like
so
this.
too.
So-
This is great. 2021's not too far off.
And it's to be determined how it's phased in, because we're gonna have $500,000, or it's actually closer to $600,000 in the bank as of the end of this month, or whenever the check comes from resolution. We could start modifications to the existing building and then build as phase one, and then build the final building as phase two. I don't know, that's still to be determined. We've hired these guys, not just as the architects, but as the project managers, so they gotta program it out, so. This building is gonna be a pre-engineered building. It's gonna be a metal building. It doesn't have to look like a metal building, but that's the only way we can afford it. They're something like 30% cheaper. So, it's gonna be, metal trusses, and then they're gonna suspend the running bridge on the inside. I think it's still gonna look nice, but just please step beware, that's what we can afford. A project this size for $4 million is a very tight budget. It's not a lot of money. Now, any other questions on this? So, this group, according to the contract, is in charge of making the decisions for our financing and for project managing this. On the contract also says that we're gonna hire a project manager to do all that work for us. So, if there are decisions that need to be made about the project, at some point we'll have to make them. At this point, there aren't really decisions to be made. This was a public hearing process, and another council's been involved in like 2 or 3 public hearings on it, and then there's been another 2 or 3 public hearings outside of that we've all been involved in. And that's how they got to this, was a public process. So, but it hasn't been, they took input from the council, but there's been no formal ratification by the council of this. So, and until there's a final set of plans, there probably won't be, because this is still a back and forth.
Right.
All right?
Any other discussion on the multi-gen center? Any questions? Okay, we can move on to item B, discussion and update on the annexation.
Okay, so the town did not have any legal description on its existing boundaries. Nobody could find one, wasn't registered anywhere. We had to draw a new one, which took a back and forth with GIS, with the state for 3 or 4 months. I don't know, it's been a while. They finally approved a legal description, and then they sent it on to the state Department of Revenue. And the Department of Revenue sent a letter out to all of the utilities in the taxing district, not in our annexation boundaries, in the taxing district, to see what assets they have in the annexation boundaries. And they have to wait for those letters to come back. So who knows how long that's going to take. We already have 3 signatures. We need 4 on the current count, but there's going to be utilities added, at least 2, maybe 3, and that will change the total count of votes we need. So if we have 6 now. If they add another 3 people, 3 voting members to it, then we will need 6 total votes. So we'll need another 2 votes, which means, but APS always signs off on them, and Arizona Water always signs off on them, and those are 2 votes we know will be out there. So their policy is always to support annexation. So I don't think that's a problem, it's a delay. Imerys has hired an attorney to negotiate a pre-annexation agreement, and he's currently preparing a draft for our consideration, which is an extremely positive step. And the hope is that they come back with an annexation draft that isn't crazy, and we're going to get it approved by the council, and then there's our 4th vote, and most of the value. They're about $1 million out of the 1.6 million value. So their vote gets us over the 50% for value. It doesn't get over the 50% for vote count. We still have to deal with the utility issue, but we're pretty well there. The Tangs have signed, the Lyras have signed, and the Smith Family Trust signed. So,
That's good. Good progress.
Yeah.
so hopefully all of that will happen fairly quickly, and we can get it approved. We have a year to do so. We have a year, January 2021 to get it finally approved, but hopefully it won't take that long. But it all depends on the utilities at this point, the Department of Revenue. And the Department of Revenue, according to the state law, they're supposed to get it done within 30 days. And if it's really bad, it'll be 60 days. And they pushed this out 3 or 4 months. So, I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. Any questions on that one?
No, I guess I'm just surprised like that hadn't been brought up before, like why?
Our attorney never advised me of it. Department of Revenue took forever to get back to us. I knew if there were assessed values out there, I just didn't know that the utilities were being assessed, because I thought they weren't assessed. But, I used to live and learn. Hopefully it's not gonna be a major deterring factor. My attorney, doesn't always communicate everything he knows to me, so it's a challenge, but, okay, we work through it.
All right, any other discussion on annexation? Moving on to item C, discussion to replace committee seat left vacant due to resignation of Casey McKeon.
More news, of course, I did mention previously that Henry has resigned as well, so we have 2 vacant slots right now. And we have posted it, but we have 3 commission positions open right now, or 4 now? 3 or 4. We have one emergency services, we have, no, so we, and these 2, so we have 3 open slots right now. We've been posting them up and down for months. Nobody's applying.
Like
So-
where, I guess I haven't come across
I haven't
those
seen them
postings.
either.
They're in the newspaper.
We put them in and then they take them out, and they're back and all,
Oh,
we're back
sorry.
again, they're posted in the.
Are they on social media?
Yeah, so
That's helpful.
I think that's what I was gonna say, that's why I haven't seen them.
Yeah, I can ask him to put it on Facebook. If you send that to Laura, we can do that up. So if you post it.
Maybe bring it up at the next CWG talk.
Okay. I'll mention it there.
That might be helpful.
Well, we have to recruit, which was kind of, was my point, is we're gonna have to go out and start putting up. Can't just put it in the newspaper and nobody's applying.
Is there
So
any
we're gonna-
specific criteria you need? I
Need to
mean,
be a resident. It doesn't even have to be
Is there
required
any
resident, just have to be
diversity?
interested layman.
okay.
Doesn't require any certification or anything, just interested layman. It doesn't even require residence.
Well,
Sure.
okay, so this is, okay, so one member of the council, me, one member of the school district, Billy, one member of the chamber, Tiffany, 2 members appointed by RC and them. So does that just mean, like, 2 members should be consistently attending, or does that
Just like
they
emergency service.
should, right?
2 members emergency services has 2 members from Resolution Copper, so 2 members from Resolution Copper show up and represent Resolution Copper, and it changes.
Okay.
It's pretty consistent, depending on who's assigned to a job, but people turn over jobs, so it changes, so.
So ideally, we would want 2 members rotating.
And Nathan and I represent,
The members of, 2 members who are residents of the town of Superior who are not elected officials.
Okay, well, that one's,
So that would be you and Nathan. So we don't necessarily need to fill Henry's vacancy, because we had an extra.
that's true.
I was the extra.
So we would just need, just, or, yeah.
So we need the extra resolution person and then 1 lay member, is that what I'm understanding? Or do we have-
Here. In case I'm not reading.
So do the 2 resolution employees have to be here for every meeting, it's not official? Because it's written that way, you have to have 2 resolution.
I
No.
think you just need a quorum, right?
Oh, yeah, a quorum.
So 2
Okay.
members should be assigned, and hopefully they'll consistently come.
Okay.
At least 1 consistently come, so we can have.
Yeah,
When,
so we
that
have
was
Nathan as
before the
well.
contract, so.
Yeah, that's what I said, 'cause
Right, so,
Nathan and I both represent.
so I feel like we're okay,
Yeah,
because that one, so Billy's filling the school, and then this one, the 2 members of the town, not elected officials, that would be
And Nathan
Valerie and
represents
Nathan.
the youth, and then I represent
All right.
the town.
cool, we don't need
So
anybody.
we don't need to put it out there for Henry's position.
No, we just need 1 more resolution person.
Okay,
we're good.
Yeah,
All right,
I mean-
don't cancel that, good to know.
Well, good thing nobody applied.
pull that one out. I mean, I guess if somebody shows interest, because you've already had it out there, I mean, it doesn't say we can't have more, but I don't, we're
I
not,
think,
like,
I think the one the council originally adopted, it had more members, but
right, and that was
If it-
before the,
before the
we
contract.
had the contract, right, so.
good.
There you go.
So, but this group has more function than it did before, because we actually have a technical purpose. We are supposed to review and approve the plans for the Enterprise and Innovation Center and for the Multi-Gen Center. So that's both contractual requirements, they're both laid out in these contracts. So we probably ought to, I'll email those out to everyone, the contracts, so that they can read and know what responsibilities you've been.
I have something out before.
Okay, so you probably have them somewhere.
Ruby, can you send them to me?
I may not be able to find them anywhere, resolution.
Yeah, we've got them, send them out, figure out, but, so, they're not huge requirements, but this is the group that technically has oversight over that. So this is, you know, council still has to approve what we do, because we're an advisory committee, not a decision-making committee, right? But that doesn't mean we can't, make decisions on the contract. That's all I'm saying, the council's gonna have to ratify this. Same thing with the emergency services, they make resolutions of that committee, and then that goes to the council, and council says, oh, yes, we agree. But, we just haven't had a meeting in a while, and the group was languishing, and I was worried that people were gonna stop dropping away, and as soon as we sent out a formal invite, we lost one, so it's good we did have a meeting. I don't think there's anything on here that's terribly pressing.
Does this committee generally meet once a month, quarterly? How do you-
We try, once a month, but we were really pushing hard for a while, doing it once a month or so.
We did really good for a while.
But a lot of things were decided and settled. We got all these contracts, and we just hired a bunch of vendors, and then they went out and started doing all the work for us. So now we've got to get back and have a meeting again and retask the committee to take on the next project. So, if you have ideas for future agenda items, please do shoot them to us, and we'll add them to the agenda. And anything that's within the scope of the Community Development Committee, because we're all about economic development, right? And looking for economic opportunities and grants and everything else, so anything that occurs to you that you think you'd like to talk about, please do shoot them our way.
All right, any other discussion on item C? If not, we'll move on to summary of current events. I can start that off. Recently, and some of you were actually there, we recently had a thing called Careertopia at the high school. We had we had a group called the Chief Pinal come in to put on some things for the kids where they introduced them to jobs that were possible through mining, through police work, through the sheriff's department, through our own police. Our own police chief was there presenting. We had medical from Cobra Valley. Resolution was there.
Procurement.
Yeah, Bodine came talk, Melissa was there. Kids were really interested. They bought into it. It was a good deal, well organized, and the people that were putting it on said it was the most well organized they've done up to this point. So big interest there. We got parent-teacher conferences coming up in a couple of weeks. Our testing window for the standardized test and our benchmarks are coming up pretty quick. We got a safety committee where we're starting some work with resolution. What date did I tell you again? Melissa? Was it 26th? It's we're gonna start after the window starts when we get back from spring break, but kids were really interested in that also. Started to make more connections with some of the businesses in town and finding out what these kids want to do so that they can get into different careers. Other than that, spring sports is starting.
Tomorrow?
Yep, Friday, baseball starting at 1 o'clock, JV boys games.
Sounds like it's already started up there.
There's a lot going on. It's
Oh, yeah, I
little,
saw the kids and I'm like,
little league and junior high are out
Yeah,
there
we
right
had
now.
2 games so far this week.
So,
and Melissa knows, Mr. Majors recruited to, kind of like a career day for the elementary kids, so that's coming up on March 10th.
March 10th is coming up, yes.
Yeah, we need to talk to him
That's all for me. Anything for me, Valerie?
Tomorrow, we're taking the several students to a junior high student council retreat. And then we have a month to work on all of our projects for the Master Council Award. And then with the youth council, we're working on the democracy. There's a survey out that's on Facebook. Today, I had my students do it in class. So there's a request. Mr. Duarte and I are also working on a basketball camp for elementary.
Timeout Basketball League.
League, yes.
Yeah.
Through our park and rec, so the kids can have a little bit of opportunities, you know, to get some skills and in addition, you know, to having some fun. Ruby and I met the lady who was the caretaker of the old high school. And so here's my question to you, Todd. I had asked her if we could have like a basketball tournament there. She said she could probably make it work, we would just have to have liability coverage, like if we did it through the park and rec, where we sponsored it, would we be able to be covered in the gym at the old high school?
I don't know, I have to check.
Okay.
And it's in town limits, so I don't see why not, except for the fact that that building has not had a fire inspection. And when I go with my fire marshal hat on, I noticed there's no extinguishers, sprinklers, exit lighting, none of the things you need for an assembly occupancy that you have at your school, right?
Okay,
So, I would be cautious, but I could ask.
okay.
Don't want her to go back if you're done. We also, Valerie and I asked Valerie to head up a trip. We talked with Tom Sawyer over at Omnia to get any students who are interested in engineering over at Omnia. We took our first trip
I took freshman yesterday.
this, it was Wednesday, and we're going again on the 4th.
Yeah, next Wednesday we're
And
taking.
there's a lot more
seniors.
kids going on the 4th, so that's one thing we're doing too. We also had kids just in case, and Occuplacer is something you have to take before you go to college, and they won't let you in certain classes if you do not take Occuplacer. It's a test that the colleges give before you actually get into a class. It's supposed to be able to place you better. Our kids took those tests. 4 of them finished. The rest of them are going to finish during this week. So if any kids you guys talk to or whatever, including your own, I know Adam was part of that too, I believe. Get them to take those classes so they can take college courses, because CAC is bringing them in and offering them early college, and then their CAC free college once they
7 credits
Promise for
in
the
summer.
future.
It's for early college and promise for the future. So
Right.
you can take 7 in the summer and then 2 classes also in, during the school year. Mr. Dwork is being humble. I can brag a little bit more about the things that they've been doing. We had a big group of kids, I think, what was the final number that took the ACT in Miami?
We had 44 sign up, 26 actually went, and the reason, there was probably 30, there was 30 that went, and 4 of them failed even after being told a few times to take their ID. So they sat out in the parking lot, but yeah, that's unprecedented. And ACT and Accuplacer are things, I wanted to state this, so when we get our labels,
Yeah.
which, we've gone up in our school label. Accuplacer is one of the things, when you hit your cut scores, it makes your score for your label go up through the college and career readiness indicators. SAT will also do that if you hit your cut score. Your ACT scores will do that also. That's why we're trying to push these kids to do that.
CTE program completion.
CTE program
And
completion.
industry certification.
Getting all your credits, a bunch of different things. So we're pushing these kids to do that, and we're starting to get some good things. So
And then in addition to that, we're getting ready to go to our CTE, CTSOs, that's Career and Technical Ed Student Organizations, competition, FBLA and FCCLA. And it's 54 days away, so the countdown is on.
Counting down.
So it's busy. This time of the year is extremely busy. So we're, after spring break, it seems like graduation's the next month. It just goes by so fast. So lots of good things happening.
Good stuff.
Everybody know about the ultra marathon this weekend?
Somebody asked me about it, I didn't know what it was.
Aerobipa
The
running,
Aerobipa.
a 50K.
There's a
You
10K.
didn't sign up, Bill?
Sure. Is it all 50K?
You can't sign up now, they closed it down, they had 350 people sign up.
So,
That's awesome.
wow, 50K,
That
huh?
is awesome.
Where are they
Well,
starting at?
And they're starting downtown. And
Here?
they're gonna run down the new Lost Trail out of town,
Okay.
up Panther, and then go to the school.
Wow.
So
What time does it start on Saturday?
it's,
Super early?
Yeah, I think, well, it's like
Is it
8.
7?
Is
The
this
lineup's at 7, I
Is this
think?
a 2-day event, 1-day event?
One
What
day.
is it? One day?
Yeah.
Really?
They'll run 50K in 8 hours.
It's like David Goggins.
But
David
they
Goggins was all the time. right?
they have a 12, a 3,
18,
or something, they have like.
50, 33, 18, and 12.
Yeah, that's.
So there's a bunch of.
I was gonna say.
So they'll be trickling back in all day, so.
Gotcha.
Stuffing and stuffing going up the hill up.
Huh, well, that's interesting, that's good, it's a pretty neat little run, I mean, we got some good terrain, so.
Have you, everybody seen the new Lost Trail through town?
No.
Goes across the lower bridge, then you go along the side of the creek, go all the way down to Panther Drive. It goes through Mr. Reese's, he gives an easement, VHP gives us an easement, so it goes all the way down it goes up to Old Town now, but it'll go to Panther, and then you could go up to the school if you want to do it that way.
Oh, really? I don't do
So
that.
Todd, is that the trail that everybody's doing, these mountain bikes, and, or is this?
Yeah, hopefully it will be, it's just getting done, it's gonna be finished this week. It's in now, but it's not finished. They're still working, tweaking it. But it ties all the way to the Arizona Trail. So people come off the Arizona Trail, the through hikers, and will come into town and get their supplies and hopefully stay at a hotel and spend some money and then turn around and go back out. But it's also for day users. You can
Yeah.
walk around town, you can walk, because all the way, you can go all the way from the jungle through the tunnel.
Yeah,
So it's one contiguous trail now.
Martin and I walked from our backyard to the park on Friday.
Yeah, well, I was over there mixing dirt when you guys.
Oh, were you on the loader? I didn't know that was you. I didn't realize that was you.
And then I dug a little too deep in one of the berms and it had a blowout.
Oh
So there was water flowing across, but I had to fix it.
no. I wanted to go with Martin today, but he, had the meeting, so he took the dog and he walked the other direction. So I gotta talk to him about it when I get home.
All the kids are up there, we bought this
He's a
thing.
cute
Adam
little
got a
one.
dog for Christmas.
what kind of dog?
Lab, little brown pocket dog.
It's got the Arizona Trail gates, so it's got those big, nice metal gates there that people can get through, and horses and bikes, but no vehicles, so.
Can we talk about, the wayfind signs, does anything ever came from that?
We passed on it, and the chamber and rebuild were gonna take it on, but I don't know that they're gonna do that, so we may have to pick it back up again. There was just too much going on
Is
last year.
anybody pushing for that to happen still? I mean, I didn't,
It's an important thing to do, and it's, the wayfinding's going in on the trail. We've also applied for a, National Park Service is helping us with the Waters and Trails of Superior plan. Everybody familiar with that project? That's the, that.
Oh, yeah.
I've been having those things in our school.
But we're done with that part of the project. He's got a trails plan, he's got this plan done. So we applied to extend it another year, and they're gonna help us with marketing and wayfinding for our outdoor recreation plans. So they're gonna help us come up with a plan around marketing it. We're working with Local First on a branding study right now, and they're giving us some logos and branding, and then we'll do the wayfinding around that, and we'll pay for some signs from somewhere. So hopefully National Park Service will, they've produced a lot more than we expected them to produce. They've been, I wasn't expecting this level of technical support. So we've got to cross our fingers and hope they give us a full wayfinding study. They'll always help us with get us there. So, and then we've got to do some mapping and stuff so we can give have maps to hand out to people about the trails and everything else.
What resolution was anything going on?
Nothing new, busy was all busy with all the environmental stuff going on, but Nothing really new to speak of, we're not gonna have a big public meeting until probably May or June. We're waiting for all the mitigations to come out. And finally, EIS, we need more information before we can put it out to the public, so it'll be a while before we have another big meeting, but we plan to this year.
Winston mentioned that the mining days at the Capitol is on Earth Day.
No, mine didn't
They
happen, it was
canceled.
canceled.
Oh, they did
Yeah.
cancel it after all? Okay, good, I can take that out of my
Yes.
calendar, okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Not happening now.
It's on it's on Earth Day.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I think because of that.
All right,
Protesters all
well,
the time.
I don't mean to be pedantic or anything, we've all rambled,
You're telling us that we're around? All right, Todd, I like where you're going with this. Okay, scheduling the next meeting, March 26th, 2020. Anybody have a problem with that date?
I should have brought my calendar, so.
I have.
Oh, my big old book, I'm like,
I mean,
I went to Kearney and then,
it looks good right now.
yeah. We'll email you, Woody.
please do shoot me some ideas what you'd like to focus on for the next meeting. I mean, I can put more about the multi-gen or something like that, or the same stuff, but I would like us to have a focus on what
Well,
we're
you don't
going
wanna have a meeting just for the sake of having a meeting, you wanna have
Right.
something substantive.
So please do look through your mental to-do list and tell us what we should be focusing on.
Okay.
So the other question the kids had, in that multi-gen center, will they have resources like weights and stuff like that when it's built?
That, yes.
Ellipticals and different things like that, that was another question that they had. They
If
said,
you
yeah,
look-
we're in
if
a
you
building,
look
but
at the
already
plan,
have things in there.
We Todd, that plan, I tried to read it. Is there a bigger version of that? Is there a way to get a?
If we sent you the email, you could zoom
Yeah,
it
so we can get it, I was gonna say, just get in the email and check
and
it
zoom it
out.
up, because it does have, lots of little detail in there, and it's hard
Mine
to
was
read.
upside down, but the kids are still loving that it was,
One of the things that
See it.
for this, we're gonna discuss probably more, is probably should be an agenda item is what, this makerspace, what it should look like, because
Oh,
the
yeah.
direction we've kind of giving them is we want our makerspace to incubate the skills that are needed at the mine, so that these kids can get these high-paying jobs and adults can get high-paying jobs. Electrical, welding,
yes.
metalworking, these sort of really high-paying trades. And so you see it's got an outdoor welding shop.
Oh, cool.
So what should that program look like? What should we be,
And
How should we
and
make that
mechanics, don't forget mechanics, because my kids, that went, they were really impressed with Matthew.
so I don't know that we've got room for an auto shop in here, but I think
We'll
that,
send them down there with duck.
but yeah, so but we do, that probably ought to be an agenda items. What does that program look like? What's the best way to get the kids certified in the right skills they need in order to get the job?
That is great.
And so
Yeah.
some guidance from resolution as to what they're looking for and what skills they would want to see on a resume, and then we have to figure out how we're gonna find those things and how we're gonna make the equipment to make it possible, so that's gonna be one of our.
And I have a wonderful colleague, he's a teacher out there at Aravipa. He used to be formerly with Ray High School, but I was on his advisory team, and he would be a great person to add to that. He taught for Western and Yuma. He said he would love to live here in Superior too.
One of the things we can do for future agendas is bring in guest speakers to discuss the agenda item and to present to the group.
That would be a
We
perfect
brought
person.
Mount West Emergency Services, they brought the Pinal County Emergency Manager in to discuss NIMS compliance.
That makerspace, now, I'm just gonna throw this out there, because we've tried to get something here in Superior. Programs, satellite programs here in Superior for
Civic?
welding, civet.
Yes,
Civet consideration at that makerspace.
yes.
If Civic wants to be included, I would love to include them.
That teacher is a part of Civic. He teaches for the
And
Civic.
that's my
program.
thing, if they get those, they can get those skills here, we'd have a lot more participation. Right now, we're fighting the traffic going one way, the other way.
Yes.
I don't know, it could change from day to day, there's delays, there's this and that, it's dangerous sometimes to
I
transport
don't
those
see why if they
kids.
have an instructor, they can't offer more than one a week in Superior.
And he said he would, a mobile trailer. He mentioned his wife has a wealth of skills with sewing and flocorico, and she's does all that stuff that she would love to do that within the community
There's a
too.
whole dance hall in
Yeah.
here, right, with mirrors and.
So if we
That's
could get a
all- that's all
couple
part
that's
of the plan.
retired like that in here, that wants to do stuff like that, that would be a win-win.
And we had discussed also, I don't know if Vanessa was there, we were talking about a maker program of some sort, a seniors program, where we have retirees who have skills, have retired with, miners who've been miners their whole lives, they have a huge skill set. How do we facilitate them teaching these skills on and passing their trades on to the next generation? Can we make some sort of senior program or maker program so you don't have to be old to do it, something like that. But this is all around the maker space.
That'd be so
It's going to be a difficult program to put together, and it probably ought to be a focus point for us because it's something we could be working on now so that it's ready when the building's ready.
Is there a makerspace? I know there's one in the Science Center, but is there a makerspace that people can go tour and get a good sense of it?
I can give you a report that was commissioned by Rebuild from IO Worldwide to discuss what makerspaces look like and the many different types of makerspaces, because some makerspaces are just somebody sitting on a computer programming. Some are full-blown machine shops and everything in between. So we get to decide what that program looks like. And I'll share that. We can start talking about it. Probably shouldn't talk about it so much now, it's not on the agenda. But
All right. Oh, let's call for the motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Next meeting, March 26, 2020. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.